G'day legends, I hope you're all fantastic. We're going to have some fun with the Axe 3 pitch block today. I'm going to be using my free blocks library for all of these examples. If you would like the free blocks library, check the video description. There's a download link in there. If you'd like to support what I do directly, my Patreon is linked, as well as the music I make with my band Ragdoll. To get started, PRS DGT on the bridge humbucker in drop D, the Brit 800 amp model, again from my blocks library. I've just tweaked the bass and gain a little bit. My free LTTV Mix 7 cab IR, multi-band compressor. I've used the Titan block from my library in there and just tweaked the threshold on the mid-band a little bit. I'm using the new gold plate reverb in this beta release of the Axe FX, and I've got a big old dual detune from my blocks library ready to go. It's off at the moment, so we'll hear this crunchy Marshall tone, and I'll kick in the dual detune for some grease. Kicking in the SD1 model up front. It's a beautiful thing right there. Let's just bypass that one. So very straightforward settings on this one. The classic Eventide or Yamaha style dual detune is to take around 9 cents of detune above and below and to pan those voices out hard left and hard right. The settings that I've used on here, mix at 30%, turn the level up a little bit just so when I kick the block in, I'm not losing any volume in there. And I like some very slight delay time offsets on here. Again, this is one of those things, you can play around with these anywhere from like 0 to about 30 milliseconds if you want more of a double tracking effect on there. We can take that to a whole new level by using the quad detune block in here, which is under Q for quad. So this is using the quad detune algorithm in here, but I've got what, -7 cents, 9 cents, -15 cents, and 13 cents of detune happening there. And then I've got some more delay offsets in here. Do I have any modulation? No modulation in there. It's set on the mono input mode. One fun thing you can do with these detunes is to run them after stereo effects. If you want that, go into the mod section, set the input mode to stereo, but this quad detune sounds colossal. That one goes really, really well with your favorite Zakk Wylde cosplay. A fun thing to use the quad detune for is to use two voices for the detune, as in the very first example I gave you here, but to use the other two voices as a delay. So I've got a block in here called dual delay and dual detune. It says what it does on the tin. You can see voice 1 and voice 2 are panned hard left and hard right. They have no detune on them, but there is a quarter note and a dotted eighth note delay associated with them. And then I've got the +9 and -9 cents on the other two voices. This one is great if you like big greasy leads. if you like that thing, check out the dual Detune Delay in here. This one's really interesting. This is a newer algorithm, and it's inspired by an algorithm in the Eventide H3000 where you can create cross feedback between the different detune voices. So you can see in here, again, plus or minus 9 cents of detune, hard pan left and right, 400 milliseconds of delay per voice, but then the feedback from voice 1 to itself and voice 2 to itself is disabled. We've got cross feedback from the two voices in here, and I've set the master feedback to around 50% on here. There's a little bit of modulation in here. So really great example of the old Eventide is taking, I think it was preset 519, which was a detune preset. You add delay to that. Michael Thompson is the guitar player probably best known for that particular trick. You know, he used it across loads and loads of hits from the 80s and 90s. It's a real signature move, and I guess this is like my interpretation of that. Let's hear that and a few other dual detune delay blocks on a clean sound. I've paired these up with the Marble Hall reverb. These just sound really lush and beautiful. So that Android's Dream block on there is beautiful for cleaner lush tones. If you want something on your dirty sounds that's kind of pitchy, kind of slapback delay, kind of faux reverb sounding, this AMS slapback works really, really nicely. This one and the last block I was using are inspired by, as you can probably guess, the old AMS delay and pitch shifter. I've got the UA plugin version of that, which I really like the sound of, and I basically used that as a reference point and tweak these. I ended up kind of getting some sounds out of this that I couldn't get out of the plugin, and I just really like this for kind of thickening up guitars. I'll let you hear it at the stock settings, and then I'll turn the mix down a little bit for a subtle effect. I was talking about the Eventide detunes earlier. My buddy Nicholas over in Sweden a little while ago helped me match my hardware H3000 to the pitch block in the Axe FX3. The Two really cool presets in there are number 231, which was the preset guys like Eddie Van Halen famously used, but I was talking about Michael Thompson earlier. He was an advocate of preset 519. It's actually my favorite detune preset on the real H3000. It is matched in here, and one fun thing you can do if you're using this dual chromatic mode is to play around with the tracking parameter as well as the type of pitch tracking on here. So if you want more of that like loose Yamaha style detune, you can turn the pitch tracking down really low. If you want more of the smooth eventide style thing, you can turn it right up. Let you hear the difference between like 10 and maybe 0.5. It's really, really fun being able to kind of hack into the detune algorithm here. You can hear with the pitch tracking off and the tracking parameter all the way up, kind of imitates really primitive pitch shifters, which had a lot of latency on there. But that's also kind of part of the sound of old school detunes as well. Like they weren't perfect and smooth, and they were a little bit glitchy, and they had latency associated with them. It's all part of the picture. So I love the fact you can dial that in if you want it on here, or you can just use the stock dual detune that we heard at the start of the video and have one of the sweetest, smoothest sounding detunes out there. Now, a lot of people put the eventide stuff on a pedestal, and I think the eventide detunes sound great. I would probably say like the eventide, the old Yamaha SPX90, and the Fractal stuff are my favorite detunes, but the Fractal stuff is by far the most powerful and flexible in there. Let's go to a clean sound again, and we have to hear crystal echoes now. The last one that I'll take a look at on here, I've just called POG, and it's inspired by the Electro Harmonix POG 2. Now, the POG is one of those pedals where the way it sounds and the way it operates are really hard to disentangle from one another. It's got sliders, it's got a bunch of switches on there. It's basically an instant inspiration machine, but the kind of core engine is that you have your guitar sound being processed by 4 different pitch shift effects. You can get 2 octaves down, so voice 1 I've got is -24. You've got an octave down, an octave up, and then 2 octaves up. You also have a bunch of different processing modes on there, so you can add detune, you can add a kind of envelope sensitive volume swell. There is a low pass filter in there with different resonance amounts on there that you can tweak. So it's one of those pedals that is actually a bunch of different effects in one with a bunch of macro controls on it. But in the pitch block, if I want a kind of POG-ish style thing, I just like setting up those different octaves in there, then playing around with the individual levels and adding a bit of detune to each voice. So this is personally where I like it at the moment. So the lowest voice at around 30% mix, plenty of the octave down, a little bit of octave up, and not much of the 2 octaves on there, but you can tweak those levels to taste. Ridiculous with a fuzz if you want that just absolutely max out kind of Muse Royal Blood style thing on there. Lots and lots of fun. You can of course add a resonant low pass filter after it if you want that effect. I would probably turn the high cut all the way up, and now the POG gives you a bunch of different processing modes where the dry does or doesn't go through the filter and the detune and a bunch of things like that. But let's just set up a low pass filter on here. So I'm going to go low pass. I'll turn the frequency to maybe like 2K, add a bit of resonance with the Q control. Let's have a listen to what it does. And then if you want to get really fancy, take the filter level, right click it, assign the envelope follower to it. I'm gonna set the max just a little bit over 0 dB, and we'll set the attack at like 120 milliseconds or something, so I should get a nice little swell up on all of this. Alternatively, you could attach the envelope follower to the filter frequency. I kind of prefer this, and the real POG doesn't do this. I'm going to pull up stumps right there, grab the blocks. There are examples for every block in here, not just the pitch block, but hopefully this video and these blocks demonstrate why I love the pitch block so much and why it is one of the most amazing blocks in the Axe FX3, FM9 and FM3. Again, check the video description to download them. You can sign up to my Patreon. You can buy some of the music that I make with my band Ragdoll, or you can just grab them and go and make some glorious guitar noises and enjoy your time on Earth. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.